The Puck Portfolio with Andy MacNeil.
Hey, welcome to the Puck Portfolio. I'm your host, Andy MacNeil with Canada Sports Betting. This show is presented by NorthStar Bets. You can check them out via the link in the description below. Drop a like on the video if it's your first time here or not. Subscribe to the Canada Sports Betting YouTube channel if you haven't been here before, if you haven't done so already. But we are also live on Twitter for the first time. So hopefully more of you will be introduced to our show, the Puck Portfolio. But it is Friday, and as always, I have to welcome in Nick Merton from the Action Network's Line Change podcast. Nick, how's it going, man?
Doing good. Yeah, I'm excited to get into it. This slate is really good, so should be fun.
Well, I'm glad you think so. I've got the lone bet right now for Friday night, the Winnipeg Jets at plus 143 on the money line. It's going to be a tough matchup tonight against the Colorado Avalanche. Of course, they've been good at Ball Arena all season long. Both teams have had a couple of days off here. Neither goaltender in the series can be happy with how they've played thus far. Although Georgiev was pretty solid in game number 2. Hellebuck, he's got to be better for sure. Game 3 odds at NorthStar Bets. The Avalanche minus 165 on the money line. The Jets coming back on the other side, still at plus 143. Relatively good price, I think. The game 3 total, 6.5 over minus 105, under minus 114. As I said, I'm on Winnipeg plus 143 from Thursday's show. That is a 0.75 unit bet for me. I'm also regrettably on the Jets to win this series at plus 115. Really could get a better price on that now, but I don't think there's actually any value on the Jets series price as things stand. This one is now a best of 5. The Jets have lost home ice advantage, and that has hurt their chances of winning this series. So, Nick, let's start here with the Avs and the Jets. Do you like anything in this game? Do you like a side? Do you like a total, etc.?
Yeah, I like the Jets. I'm with you. I'm on them for half unit. I think that my plan, probably barring notable changes in this game, is just going to be to do that both games and look to win one and hope to catch a small profit there as a result. I think that the number one thing that is being a little underrated, in my opinion, is that the Jets have generated some really quality offensive looks in this series. I think that in game 1, Georgiev had it a lot harder than people thought. Obviously, he was not good. But last game, the Jets did really good to get their chances too. They haven't owned more of the overall play, but if you look at the kinds of chances they're getting, they're really high quality. So I think it's been a little deceptive because at times the Avs have just looked like the globe-trotting kind of team they can be, where they're just driving play so effectively and getting their looks. But I think what's kind of being underrated is what the Jets are getting going against the run of play, which has been pretty consistently good looks. So for that reason, and at some point you'd think Hellebuck steals a game or two, I'm with you. I think plus 145 is pretty long, and that it's a decent time to take a chance on the Jets. I think they could get a split here. And I was big pre-series. I saw people talking about the road wins prop being a lock. It was plus 100 under 2.5. And I wasn't so sure. The Avs last year when they got knocked out, road teams were 5-2 in that series. And it's a point I always make, and I know you are aware of as well, that home ice tends to get really overvalued in the playoffs. And I think the main reason why is pretty simple, just given both teams are on the same travel schedule and the same rest schedule. So yeah, you have your home crowd, but you also, both teams are fully ready to go. And these guys, to me, it almost sounds a little like a slight on them to think that these guys can't figure out how to play on the road, if you know what I mean. Like, I think it's like almost insulting to some of these players to say that like they're just going to go in there and be so intimidated by the environment that they can't get to their game. So I'm not surprised to see road teams doing fairly well again. They're up to 7-9 now, and obviously that data always gets skewed because, or as of now it is, because you've got teams like the Rangers, the higher seed, that we're just going to go 2-0 no matter what. They've played their games. So I think in time we will see this year, as with kind of the last couple years, road teams do fairly well. And I think that's a point towards liking the Jets in this game, because if you look at the closing prices on the first 2 games, it's pretty clear that home ice is being factored in really heavily here.
Yeah, I mean, the Jets never got up around these odds in the regular season in their 2 meetings versus the Avalanche. I think the highest or the lowest that they closed was plus 134. But yeah, it's gonna be a tough one. And like you said, I think I mean I agree with that, and I agree with what you said about the fact that these teams are on an even scheduling and stuff like that. I think we saw it in the bubble, and without fans, a lot of people were pointing to, oh, no fans. That has had a big impact on home ice advantage. Where I think it was more to do with the fact that no teams were you weren't the bad teams were never sneaking up on the good teams, etc. Like there was a lot of um, predictability in terms of the scheduling, et cetera. Teams weren't playing as many back to backs, et cetera. And then you get into the playoffs, and that's what you see. Everybody's kind of on the same page here. So yeah, Winnipeg plus 143. I think it's a pretty good price. Not enough for a full unit bet, but both myself and Nick like this one enough for a half unit bet. You said, Nick?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
I'm on
on
them.
the, and my plan probably just go right back to it. See how the game goes tonight. I think they get a split out of this, so I'm kind of putting some stock into that idea.
Yeah, yeah, and then you would if they do in fact win Game 3 on Friday, they would see an even bigger price likely in Game 4 because the Avs will have their backs against the wall, and you see the Game 3 shift, the shift in the game where a team could go down or sorry get pushed to the brink of elimination, like we saw yesterday with the Panthers. They were, the Lightning. By the time that game closed, the Lightning were a favorite at some spots, right? However, heading into Game 4, now that the Lightning are down 3-0 in the series, you're seeing the Panther open up as a bigger favorite than they were even at the open in Game 3. So I think you see the shift a lot more when a team's facing, their third loss in a series rather than being eliminated. So if the Jets do manage to win this game, then I think you'll see plus 150 or better maybe on Winnipeg heading into Game 4. But let's get back to a series that you mentioned, the New York Rangers at your Washington Capitals for Game 3. Of course, they're up 2-0 in the series. They are a minus 175 favorite. According to NorthStar Bets, the Capitals on the other side plus 148. Game 4 total 5.5, over minus 108, under minus 110. I think this one's priced correctly. I have the Rangers as a minus 171 favorite, so no action here. I've still got the Rangers on the series spread, 2.5 games, so I'm looking for them to either get the sweep or win in 5. That's looking pretty good, obviously. But are there any betting angles that you see in this one?
Yeah, I'm gonna take a bit of a out there kind of look. I'm prepared to potentially look like an idiot on it, but I think that Ovechkin's shot prop has trended down to where I want to play it. And I get that he's looked really bad in the series. He's been really heavily uninvolved. But he's plus 155 for 4 shots, which is way better than we've seen. Big account for that. Either with in this near do or die spot, they're going to try as hard as they can to get him favorable matchups in the offensive zone with last change.
I just want to say I love this. I don't think that whether it cashes or not, you're not going to look like an idiot. I think this is a great angle to play over here. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think it's a fun angle. I think I'm putting some stock into my, belief that he's going to bounce back. He knows he was really bad in games 1 and 2. Part of that is he's just old and he's facing the President's Trophy winners. Don't get me wrong, but I do think, and one thing that I like too is the Caps did move the puck around pretty well on the man advantage, and the Rangers really did focus on taking away Ovechkin. But in time, if they can continue to move it the way they did on the man advantage in New York, and who knows how many power plays we see again tonight, this game could get a little off the rails with that Panarin hit, and I wouldn't be surprised if they continue to call it tight. So I think we have the right number at plus 155. I feel like in my head it's like 50-50 if Ovechkin shows up, gets a lot more involved. So I want to target him. And yeah, like we said, Carberry said he needs to find ways to get Ovechkin better minutes, get him more chances out front. So I think that we are going to see him leave a bit of an imprint on this game. And that now the number is so much worth. Like first game of the series, 4 shots was about plus 135 on most spots. So there is a lot of movement just based off the fact that he has been this bad so far.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great angle. And it's one where the coach is already kind of stated his case and said that he's going to be actively trying to get him better matchups now that they're the home team and now that they'll have last change. So I think that if there's a spot to target Ovechkin and his shot volume, game 3 is it. But yeah, no, that's a great look, Nick. I love that. A series that I'm not sure I'll have any more betting interest in, to be honest, because obviously the information has been publicized. We were able to capitalize on Nashville being a plus 140 underdog heading into game 2 after I thought game 1 was a pretty evenly matched game. It was just, the Canucks scored 12 seconds apart to tie it and take the lead. They got the empty netter. They won that 1-4-2. Game 2, however, although the Preds did win, did not really go as planned. The Canucks, it was really a shot blocking clinic for Nashville. They set a new franchise record with 32 block shots in a game not requiring overtime. The Canucks, they had 83 shot attempts, but as I mentioned on Thursday's show, only 16 of those shot attempts, according to Natural Stat Trick, were the high danger variety. So that's a big problem. Nashville's willing to get in the way and sacrifice the body to block those shots. And the Canucks aren't forcing their way into the slot, which is something I think they're going to have to do. But right now, the big story here is Thatcher Demko. It sounds like he's not going to be back at all in this series. So obviously, it's a big blow to the Canucks' chances, not only in this series, but their Stanley Cup hopes. But yeah, Sarah Sivian reporting on Twitter that she heard Demko will be out for the rest of the playoffs. Those reports conflict with the report that he'll be out until the second round if the Canucks move on, though. So it'll be interesting to see if anything comes out about Demko in the coming days. But now Nashville minus 114 on the money line in game 3. The Canucks minus 103. That's at NorthStar Bets. I have the Predators as a minus 113 favorite. So no value there, in my opinion. The game total 5.5 over minus 122 under plus 104. As bad, I guess, as DeSmith was, the Preds aren't really forcing the issue either. I think they're going to be just fine trying to hold on to leads if they get them. So I'm not really confident in either team's offensive ability right now. How are you handicapping this one, Nick?
Yeah, we're seeing it pretty closely. I think they've adjusted the numbers properly. I think that game 2 is a really tough game for DeSmith because none of the 3 goals were objectively that bad. Like the Beauvillier tip in is pretty awkward. I don't think that gets saved too often. The Philip Forsberg goal, maybe he could have read that he needed to press earlier and that Forsberg wasn't able to go to his backhand. But again, probably not a goal that ever really gets called out. Yeah. And then the rebound, I think it was Sissons who put it in. That's a pretty in tight shot from Zucker that led to the rebound. That's not really typically being expected to be handled better. I mean, you could maybe say that a better goaltender finds a way to not kick the rebound off his chest into the slot. I don't know. So I think it's just part of it was just tough luck that of the 15 shots, 3 of them happened to be like pretty reasonable chances. So I do think that it's enough movement because it's not like DeSmith was horrible down the stretch for them.
No.
Especially if you drop that wild game out of his sample of results. He actually owns a better than average goals saved above expected. They let him soak up 8 goals in that loss. So pretty rare that happens. I know if you take the worst start from many goalies, their data looks a lot better, but that typically doesn't involve an 8-goal game. And if you take that out, he was pretty good. So I think that there's the Canucks should be able to bounce back, or I shouldn't even say bounce back, but should be able to just keep up their defensive level. And that odds are that won't mean 3 of the only chances going the other way end up being chances that are kind of just should be goals. So I don't mind the Canucks, but again, bit scary with the goaltending situation. But it feels like Nashville's become really trendy here. I kind of think I can still at least see the avenues for the Canucks given the way they controlled play. And I like JT Miller to get 3 shots. He's had 18 shot attempts in the first 2 games. That Joshua line has just been demolishing the Preds. Hopefully, if you're a Preds fan, you would think with last change, they can get some better matchups on them. But I still think that is a decent look. It's at minus 120 to go over 2.5. I think that we're going to see him stay really involved and that line be really good. So I think that number is a little low. I like that play. And again, I think you'd imagine the Preds find a way to carry a little more of the play here on home ice. I think
Yeah.
they probably know that wasn't really a very, very replicable win in game 2, even if that, the goaltenders remain the same. But I think we'll see that line get their looks. They've really been dominating. So I like the chances that Miller hits 3 shots.
Yeah, one approach that I might take here with this game, and I haven't had a ton of time to look and shop around, etc. But I think with Nashville, they are a team that is not top heavy. They're a pretty balanced team. Well, I shouldn't say that they are top heavy because of that. They've got that great first line with Ryan O'Reilly and Forsberg and Nyquist, but um, they've got to get scoring from other parts of their lineup, and they will, I think, throughout this series. So guys like uh, Luke Evangelista, Colton Sissons, Tommy Novak, even, and I mean even Kiefer Sherwood. These are players that I'm not opposed to sprinkling a little bit on in the anytime goal market or any goal market really. You look at a guy like Sissons, he's on the second power play. He's got a prominent spot on it. He's actually leads the Preds in expected goals so far in the series. So I think there are some looks there for some of the Nashville players, but I think it's definitely important to shop around because you can find those guys in the 3-1, 3.5-1 kind of range, but I think some sports will have players like Sissons especially up in the maybe 4-1, even 5-1 range. So I think I think just because of these guys, they're getting opportunities, right? That you wouldn't get on another team. So I think there are some looks here for some of these Predators players, but like I said, I want to shop around and make sure I'm getting the best price. But
Yeah, I love it. I like. I guess he's shorter too everywhere, but I always love Tommy Novak. I think that guy's really good. So good thing they held on to him. I could see him break it through at some point in this series for sure.
yeah, for sure. Other than that, we've got just one final game to talk about for Friday. It is Game 3 between the Edmonton Oilers and the Los Angeles Kings. Of course, this series tied up at 1 after the Kings came back and won Game 2 after a pretty bad performance in Game 1. Game 3 odds at NorthStar Bets: Oilers minus 132, Kings plus 112. The total over 6.5 plus 100, under minus 120. Quick note about the game total. In game 1, the total was set at 6 goals, under minus 125, shifted to 6 goals, over minus 115 in game 2. But after final scores of 7-4 and 5-4 in the first 2 games, we've now got a total at 6.5. I mean, you look at these games, you look at the just kind of the game script here. I think more often than not, you're going to see these be high scoring games. I think that Los Angeles can talk all they want about playing their game and grinding one out, etc. But they've beaten the Kings, or they've beaten the Oilers in 6 times in the last 3 playoff series, including this one. And 5 of those games they've had to score 4 goals, right? Like, they're not going to beat. You're rarely going to beat Edmonton scoring 3 goals, winning 3-2, etc. It's rarely going to happen, right? These are going to be higher scoring games. I think you're going to see the 4-3 score line a lot in this series, or something bordering that anyways. But yeah, I think there's a lot of interesting things here. I mean, Stuart Skinner I don't think he's going to be the reason that the Oilers win a series, but he can't be the reason that they lose a series. That's for sure. And right now, he's the reason that this series is tied, in my opinion. Some tough goals, don't get me wrong, but he's got to have some of those. Talbot has made some pretty big saves in this one so far. He has allowed 4+ goals in 7 out of his last 9 playoff appearances. Now the Oilers are 6-7 straight up with him between the pipes in the playoffs. So I think it's becoming a problem, right? And the other thing to mention is that Edmonton wasn't nearly as good on the road this season as they were at home. They had a +63 goal differential on home ice this season, -7 on the road. They went 21-20 straight up as the road team this season. That is not Stanley Cup caliber, right? So the Kings, they've taken games 3 or game 4 in the past 2 matchups against Edmonton. So they're bound to split this one, I think. But they split the two games in LA versus the Oilers this season, a shootout loss and a 4-0 win. So I think Edmonton's odds here are a little bit too high. I'm close to betting on the Kings. I think if this one gets up to where it is at some of these exchanges that I'm seeing, the Kings as high as plus 133 at some of these betting exchanges. It looks like the best at a sports book right now is plus 124, but yeah, plus 125 or better. I'm going to be on the Kings money line tonight, Nick. I think you kind of see this one in a similar way.
Yeah, I do. I think they're going to come up with a split. I was like at some of the openers, there's minus 125. I was torn on the Oilers. I think they find a way to get one here. Now I kind of see it as a pass. Last Friday I made my case. I gave out a losing pick on the Kings in game one. Unfortunately, I wasn't back on to say that I would have liked them at the same number in game two, because I think that the Kings, like you said, they're going to have to score to hang out with the Oilers. But I do think they have more talent than people appreciate. I think they ran kind of at the low end of their roster upside this season. I think it's been a little more than just Skinner being bad. I think that their team's got a lot of offensive talents. But with
Absolutely.
that said, the Oilers are kind of having their way getting their chances at the other end, so you can't really pump up the Kings' defensive upside. I'm really excited to watch this game and the rest of the series because I think this should be one of the best ones. But at the current prices, I actually don't really have much for this game 3.
Yeah. I'm looking for LA to get up there at least, plus 125 or better, and then I'll back the Kings. But not something I'm running or eager to do at this point. I think for the most part this one's priced correctly, but my model has Edmonton as a minus 117 favorite, so bordering on some value there in this one for sure. Adrian Kempe, he's been, lights out against Edmonton. He came into the series with 7 goals and 7 assists in 13 career playoff games versus the Oilers. He's got 3 goals and 1 assist in 2 games so far in this series. So we'll see if he continues his success against the Oilers. But yeah, should be a good game. I wanted to pick my son up at school on Wednesday was Oilers Day at school. They all wore their Oilers gear. I really wanted to wear this Kings jersey and pick him up at school on Wednesday, but my wife wouldn't let me. So no fun. Nobody wants to let me have any fun. Anyway, yeah, go Oilers, but maybe go Kings. Moving on to Saturday, we've got 4 more games. Of course, the Carolina Hurricanes, they're up 3-0 in their series versus the Islanders. Have you checked in on Lieboff since Thursday's loss to the Canes, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, I've checked in on him. I told him, don't get your hopes up. Don't get hope. It's just they're not going to win. But anyways, I have checked in on him. I don't really have much on this game. I didn't know what you thought. I didn't really think Carolina quite has shown enough to warrant being an even bigger favorite. For me at this point, it's just feels like a weird game to bet on. 3-0. New York's probably been a little, I mean, I would say they have been a little better than being down 3-0, but
yeah,
who knows what you're going to get out of them at this point. And yeah, to me, it just looks right. And a game I'm not that interested in and not that interested in betting.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. I haven't been paying a whole lot of attention to this series. If I'm going to be honest, game 4 odds: Hurricanes minus 177, Islanders plus 150, total of 5.5 over. Even money under minus 118. We know that Simeon Varlamov will start game 4. Ilya Sorokin's lone start of the series did not go as planned. He was pulled after allowing 3 goals. Varlamov came back in. So yeah. I don't know what that's going to do for the Islanders long term as far as their goaltending. Maybe a goaltending controversy heading into next season, but you would think that Sorokin is still the number 1 guy there in the organization. But yeah, not a whole lot of interest there for me either. I did win a small bet on the Panthers. My only money line bet for Thursday got them at minus 105 on the money line. They now lead the series 3-0 after a 5-3 victory on Thursday. First game to be decided by more than 1 goal. They've been pretty good, but yeah, tightly contested. Not unexpected, as Vasilevsky is still pretty elite But the game 4 odds, Panthers minus 115, Lightning even money. Game total 6, over minus 121, under plus 102. Sam Bennett missed game 3. That resulted in a good opportunity for Anton Lundell. He moved up to the second line between Kachuk and Verhaeghe. Not sure what Bennett's status is heading into game number 4, but yeah, looks like curtains for the Lightning. But I wouldn't be surprised if they pulled one out either. How are you looking at this one, Nick?
Yeah, I'm not surprised to hear that you are on the Panthers in game 3 because it feels like one of those ones, if you weren't going to overreact to the can't or to the must win Lightning side of things, that
Yeah,
the number was just too short. I thought that the Panthers deserved to be a bigger favorite in the series. We gave out the spread handicap on line change,
nice.
and I still feel pretty good about that. And I would still bet the Panthers again at minus 115. It feels like one of these things. Yes, is it going to be surprising to see a sweep? Sure. But in a nutshell, I think everything we've seen from these teams this year makes me think that minus 115 is just too short on the Panthers. I think that they've got a way better defensive core at this point. Even with Bennett out, I think they're a much deeper offensive side. I thought that they'd have a good chance of shutting down Kucherov on point at even strength, and that in head-to-head minutes, the Barkov line would actually outperform them with how good Barkov and Reinhart are defensively. So, and the other thing is, yeah, Vasi's been pretty good, and in this series in specific, he's been pretty good. But it's been 3 straight years of like not world-beating, like game-stealing Vasilevsky. And I think if you're not going to have that, there's just no arguments that should suggest Tampa should be this close. So, John Cooper's pushing all the buttons. He called everyone out again after game 3. I think you can only imagine the way that locker room looked after the first period. You could see a huge response from the Lightning at the start of game 2.
Yeah.
But Florida also or I should say at the start of game 3, you could see a huge response after the first. Florida handled that pretty well, though. And then after that 10 minutes in the second period, you could just see them get back to their game and just generate more and more chances. They had a lot of good chances in the third before they finally broke through. I just think they're the better team at this point. And Florida did well to finish teams off quick last year. They didn't mess around in any of those series, which I also like in this one. So I think you can bet the Panthers again. I don't want to overthink it. And at this point, we've just seen they're a better team and they're being priced pretty evenly. So I like them here.
Yeah, can't disagree with that. The thing I think maybe some people will disagree with is that the Boston Bruins are the better team in their series versus the Toronto Maple Leafs. No, but yeah, the Bruins lead that series 2-1. Game 4 odds, Maple Leafs minus 115. Boston even money. That might have shifted since I started the show because William Nylander, full participant at practice on Friday, skating on the third line with Jarnkrok and Holmberg. Matthews was not at practice on Wednesday. He was given the day off on Friday, sorry. He was given the day off because he apparently played through an illness on Wednesday. But yeah, it looks like Willie Nylander is going to be back in the Maple Leafs lineup. I thought Boston played their best game of the series in game 3. I thought they looked really good at even strength. Of course, the power play was good. Penalty kill was good. But big story was that Jeremy Swayman was just, pretty much unbeatable. I'm hoping they go back to him in game 4. I know that it's their thing to, switch and rotate between him and Linus Ullmark. But I think given how he has dominated the Maple Leafs, you've got to go back to him to try to go home up 3-1 in the series. But no betting interest here for me. I think this one's priced right. Mostly, I've got the Bruins to win or to win this series in 4, 5, or 6 games. Obviously, they're not going to win in 4, but I've got them on the series spread at minus 1.5 games at plus 170. According to my projections, there's about a 50-50 chance that one goes my way. So pretty happy with that right now, but they need to get this win on Saturday and take that 3-1 series lead heading home. Do you have any interest in this one, Nick? You on the Maple Leafs, the Bruins? What do you see here?
Well, I'm on the Leafs just because I gave out 2-2 tie. I thought was a really good bet. This series was plus 150. I can't remember if we gave this out here too, but I thought that was a great bet at plus 150. I felt really confident that it would come down to, this exact situation where we need one game or one team in like a pick 'em price game to win. So because of that, I'm forced to cheer for the Leafs here because that's the way it shook out, but it would have been the Bruins if it was the opposite. And I'm with you. I think this game looks fair. I thought Toronto did a lot of things well last game. So did the Bruins. They both played really well. Ultimately, I mean, Swayman was the difference, I think, and that's fair. He's part of their team, but that Frederick goal never goes in on Swayman. It just doesn't, right? Like that's
No.
pretty much just a donation. And then if you have to fight an uphill battle of basically needing to get one more goal that never goes in your net if you're Toronto, that's tough because the Bruins are defending well. I do think at plus 360, I don't mind the overtime look. I feel really confident that this one's again going to be really competitive and back and forth. And that's kind of in the story as much as people don't really believe it. That's kind of in the story of the whole Sheldon Keefe era. There's been a ton of overtimes, a ton of single goal games. The Leafs, the greater problem really has been coming up with timely scoring. So
Yeah, the power play is outside of Tampa Bay series last year. Their power play has not been good in the playoffs. Like it just doesn't matter really who's been, whether it was Spencer Carberry working with the power play or not. It just seems like that core has not been able to get it done on the power play in the playoff series.
Yeah, so I think at plus 360, it's a pretty live bet and a good sprinkle. We've seen the last two games needed a winner coming late after being tied. And obviously that's how he's going to blow up a lot of the time, but I think it's going to be a better chance that we see it kind of head into an empty net situation or just tied than that number suggests. So I like that. I think both teams bring it. I think it's going to be another really good game. This has been by far the best series in the East. I think it's just at this point, you're really counting on this one being interesting. I guess you don't want it to be interesting, but the other ones look pretty terrible. So hopefully that continues. And yeah, I think that kind of all the reasons that this one should look like game 3 remain in place. I feel like both teams are bringing it. And if Samsonov can be reasonable, I think we're going to see another close competitive game. So I like
can't disagree with you. I'm hoping for a 6-0 Boston win, but whatever. Now I think you're probably feeling the same way I am in that you're pretty. I'm glad that I won my bet on Vegas plus 140 in game 2. I thought there was a big overreaction there. I know Dallas has been the better team overall. But you've got to be disappointed with how the Stars have started this out. I have Stars futures, like I think you do, and now they're down 2-0 in this series. Rupe Hintz, who was their go-to guy in the regular season, who you've talked up a lot, who I think everybody's like, especially last year in the playoffs, he was just. If the Stars had gone to the Stanley Cup final, he was going to be one of the contenders for the Conn Smythe Trophy. He doesn't have a point yet in the series. Matt Duchene, the Stars' big offseason acquisition, he hasn't even registered a shot in 2 games. Both Radek Faska and Mason Marchment were hurt late in game 2. No update on either of those players right now. Things kind of unraveling for the Dallas Stars right now. And I think this one, a virtual coin flip. I have Vegas as a small minus 106 favorite according to my model. Fortress is a pretty tough place to play, and I think this one's priced pretty appropriately. But yeah, tough to see the Stars in this situation given how good they were this season. Do you like anything from a betting perspective here, Nick?
Yeah, I like quite a lot actually revolving around this series still. I like the Stars in this game. I think it's enough of a reaction. Dallas played well at the Fortress. They went 1-2 in their series last year, but 2 of the games went to overtime, both their losses. Their numbers there were actually just as good as they were in the games at home. And I think that this Stars team is still better than last year's team, even if maybe they've been a hair off to start this series. I still think they can make some adjustments. I still love the way the offense is built. So I think they find some ways to get some offense in this game. I think this is a pretty big adjustment to what Vegas has done. I know we didn't necessarily know what Vegas was at full strength. At this point, I just feel confident that this is arguably the 2 very best teams in the West going head to head. And that's kind of why I like the 2 plays that I'm about to give out. I like the Stars still to win the cup, especially if you didn't have anything there. I think if you want to get in at 21-1, that's a decent look because I think, and the reason I like it compared to just rolling it over is I think that the way Dallas is going to be priced if they get through this series with Vegas is that they're going to be power rated as the true top team in the West. So that's why I kind of like that, because I think more than normal it makes sense because of how the market's going to view them if they find a way. And then the other one that I like is I like Eichel. I can't remember if you gave this out or not, but I like Eichel to win the Conn Smythe at 25-1. I think that it's just more and more clear that he is the horse on that team. It drives me nuts when people say they didn't have a true star last year when they had him. And the only reason he had the point total he had was because he wasn't in the lineup and he was just getting reacclimated to playing again. Like, this is a full-blown like top 6, 7, 8 center in the league. So if you're saying Vegas was a team that was just, and they were a great team in all areas, but Eichel is just a truly dominant top center. He was close last year, and that was with Marchessault coming up with kind of an abnormal output of goals and so many important goals. And I think that's not going to be that likely to be replicated. So he's priced pretty evenly with Mark Stone and Logan Thompson. I don't really buy into that. I think that he's kind of their clear best piece at this point. So with my belief that if the Knights finish this off, they could arguably just be the very best team left in the West. I like taking a chance and getting in with Eichel too. So I kind of like both those things. At this point, I just feel like this really is, it's just a horrible draw for the Stars. It just sucks that it worked out this way, but I'm not like that much lower on what they are. I think at this point, this is just, they drew the defending champs, and now it looks like Vegas is just exactly what they were last year. So
Dallas 25-1 at NorthStar Bets right now to win the Stanley Cup. So
love it.
Something to consider for sure. Yeah, no, I don't think the Stars should be counted out by any means. They've had too good of a season. They've shown too much to just write them off after 2 games. But definitely not a dream start for sure. To potential Stanley Cup run for a
Don't
team
forget about
that's
the Caps, Andy, when they did
definitely
it in 2018.
capable.
They came back
No, for sure it can
2-0.
happen. Bruins 2011, they won multiple series. I think every series except for, I think they won 3 series after losing the first 2 games. So I mean, but they were the first team to do it. I'm pretty sure, and maybe the only team since to do it. So
I think the Caps might have been, they were one of the only ones to lose the first 2 on the road. I know.
Yeah.
So those are uncommon, but it's not impossible.
Are you saying Washington is going to come back and win the 2024 Stanley Cup then? Is that
Not as convinced on that one, but if they can win a game, I'll be a proud fan. So hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, they're pretty competitive. The Rangers aren't I don't think totally bulletproof, so would not be surprised if the Caps stole a game, likely game 3 or game 4, but I think, as much so I would expect the Rangers to get this done in 4 or 5. So thanks for joining the show, Nick. Appreciate all the insights and the bets. We are definitely on the same page with a lot of these matchups, including the Winnipeg Jets, who we both want to kick some ass tonight. So go Jets, go on the money line plus 143. I think that's a really good price. And yeah, we'll be back on or I'll be back on Monday with another episode of the Puck Portfolio. Drop a like on the video if you have not already. Until then, good luck with your bets, and please gamble responsibly. Take care.